Today we're featuring MGS Manufacturing, a powerhouse at the forefront of contract manufacturing innovation. On our podcast, Greatness Has No Gender, Anna, their production unit manager, and Michelle, senior quality engineer, open up about navigating leadership, overcoming obstacles, and why representation matters in STEM. Thank you to our sponsors, Finero, a multi-award-winning company that specialises in financial success for contractors, freelancers, and solopreneurs. Welcome to the podcast, Anna and Michelle. Thank you both for coming today. I really appreciate it and looking forward to our chat and learning a little bit about you guys and MGS. If I start with you, Michelle, will you tell me a little bit about how you got into your role and what has got you to kind of where you are today?
Going way back when, nearly 10 years ago at this point, finished school, I wanted to do nursing. That was where my heart was. I didn't get enough points at the time, so I ended up doing a PLC course. And to be honest, it was the best thing I probably could have done, because after the PLC course, I realised nursing was not for me at all. So I reapplied for CAO, and my top subjects were science subjects. So I got into pharmaceutical science then. So I did my 4 years in IT Tala. I had got an honours degree in pharmaceutical science. As part of that degree, I also had the opportunity to complete a placement or work placement in third year. As part of my work placement, I got the opportunity then to work in another medical device company similar to MGS. At the time, again, I was like, oh no, I don't think this is the area or the industry I wanted to get into. I wanted to be more lab-based, but after actually completing that internship, I realised, actually, no, this is more for me. So following then on from that, I completed my final year. I then returned to the same employer that I did my internship with, and I worked with them for nearly 5 years. So it really opened up my eyes to the medical device industry and the quality engineering aspect of that industry. From there, then I moved on to where I am right now as MGS, and I've been given a number of opportunities since joining MGS. I have to say I love my job. I know that probably sounds silly, but I actually
Not at
do,
all.
because every day is different. I actually started in MGS. I was working for operations, so quality operations side of things. But now, when I went actually on maternity leave and I came back into the new product introduction. So now I'm working with new customers, onboarding like their projects from start to finish and validating their tools. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks a million. Anastasia, have you a similar route, or has yours been very different to Michelle's?
Mine was definitely very much different, because I only moved to Ireland 11 years ago. So my journey started with applying to MGS really, and I entered the company on the base level really job, which was screening at that time. And that was 9 years ago really. So, and in these 9 years, I think MGS has given me so many opportunities, which I gladly took. It wasn't just given really, it was based on very hard work. You know, I always try to excel myself to more and more and more and be there. So now I am production unit manager. I will repeat, Michelle's words. I do love my job. I really worked hard to get where I am at the minute. I changed a couple of positions in MGS. I was working as a QC at some stage, then a shift supervisor, which was great. I absolutely enjoyed that job. It's, you come in and you get to set your production floor, resolve all the issues, work very close with Michelle to attend to different quality defects or setting up new procedures for the guys on the floor. It was absolutely amazing. Now the jobs aspect didn't change much, but there is more to it. So much more, because really we're looking after all the shifts at the moment, where the supervisor would be only looking after your individual shift. I do actually feel like at home there. I was usually joking, that I'm going to retire from MGS. and that's true. Some days, as any other person, of course, I feel that maybe I'm overstimulated because of so much going on at the minute. But then when you go home and you close some project or things done, like you resolve issues and you're sure that, the machine is going to run for the next 24 hours or a week, with no problems. It just puts my mind at ease, and you can kind of move on to different resolution of other issues.
Yeah. That's a huge amount in 9 years, Anastasia, to go from a screening job right through to a PU manager.
Yes.
So well done. It's phenomenal. But obviously, as you said, hard work and opportunity on both sides, your own and MGS as an employer.
Yes, 100%. So I did try actually at some stage in my work experience in MGS. I thought, oh, well, I might try quality as a department. I thought of change and manager at the time. I went through 2 stages of interviews, I think. And unfortunately, or maybe towards my luck, really, manager at the time said, Anna, unfortunately, you're unsuccessful, but I see so much potential where you are now, because obviously you are a production person and that's where you're going to excel. And he was very much right. And I didn't take that as a criticism. Yes, I took it as an opportunity to really shift my future in production department.
Okay.
Yes, and MGS, thank you for all the opportunities, really, but they did support me, and they did send me for a course, management
I was just going
course.
to say,
Yes,
have you done further
yes.
education, and what kind of STEM subjects would you have covered in that?
Yes, so management, yes, that was the part where I was aiming for, and that's where I am, so...
And Anastasija, if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you see yourself doing? Or
Well, I think I grown to love all DIY projects, so definitely something to do with design and possibly building or, assembling things at home. I love to do that. That's how I spend my free time. And I actually grown to passion to nails as well. For me, I just felt like, sitting 3 hours in a chair, when somebody's doing your nails, I felt, no, I'd like to have a pause in between. So I started to do them myself, which I very much enjoy. And one of those, I'd say, yes, definitely nails would take a second position for sure. DIY is where my heart is.
But it's all artistic, isn't it? It's all,
Yes.
creativity. You can see yourself in R&D or something like that. Okay, super. If someone was unsure or curious about STEM, what subjects or skills would you recommend that they could do or should maybe take an interest in school?
In my opinion, I think science and maths definitely.
Right.
They all involve analytical thinking and critical thinking.
Okay.
And I think if you enjoy data and problem solving and coming up with solutions,
Keeps everything quite broad. Yeah, it does. It gives you lots of options.
because I think you need maths, especially anyway. And maths is involved in most jobs anyone kind of does, whether it's simple maths or big calculations to work out OEE of a production line or an IMM. And then like science, there's so many different areas within science that you can go into. Like, as I said, I have a pharmaceutical science background, but I've gone into medical device,
But you could also pivot knowing you have something background like
Exactly.
that, which is really good.
Yeah.
Would you be of the same thought as Michelle, Anastasija?
I think definitely in STEM field, every person needs to have something to do with debates. I'd say maybe some political side of the, story as well, because very often we just come all together as MGS staff and do make big decisions. So you need to be able to stand your grounds based on facts, obviously, because this job goes only on facts. But yeah, you need to be able to definitely express yourself, explain what you're moving towards or what you're moving from. And that's a big piece of it as well. Because
Really good communicator.
Yes, because, you can do all those other pieces, but if you can't prove that, let's say, this way is better for the company, at least give your thoughts.
That's a real leadership trait, isn't it? Being able to communicate at every level of the organisation, from the screening individuals right up to the main stakeholders in the business.
Yes, definitely, yes.
What obstacles do you think women in STEM face today?
One thing is probably the work-life balance, particularly maybe for women that want to start a family. So we know we work in an industry that's very demanding. Cost of living as well today. Not all women can take the time off or the additional time they need off. If the company you work for doesn't have maybe a maternity policy that involves paying or partial pay, like women may only take 3 months, 6 months off because they can't afford to take any longer. Now, I have to say, I was blessed when I became a mother and working in MGS. There was a policy in place, but when I was the first woman to become pregnant to work at that
Wow.
point in MGS Leak Slip. Yeah,
You were the first person to take maternity leave in MGS Leak Slip.
I was the first person to take maternity leaves, and MGS looked after me while I was on maternity leave. And even prior to going on maternity leave, I had to leave work early, and I was very well looked after. And even when I came back then after maternity leave, I came back only 4 days a week, and MGS accommodated that for me. Mm-hmm. And even to this day, I'm back working 5 days, but if I need time off, whether it's parents' leave or parental leave, they've always said
an option.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah,
Brilliant. Yeah. So when you think about obstacles, then you don't see many as obstacles like
in
this.
MGS, I don't see it as an obstacle. Definitely not, because they are quite accommodating.
And it didn't hold you back in any way
it
going on
didn't,
maternity
no.
leave. You were
Came back after maternity leave. My quality manager was leaving. After maternity leave, obviously his role became available, and I applied for it. I wasn't successful in the role. However, I took it as a great opportunity to be even considered to be interviewed for that role. Because at the time I wasn't a senior.
Yeah.
I've only become senior in the last 3 months. Yeah. So as I said, even to be considered to be interviewed really meant a lot for me. And I could show my potential and what I wanted within MGS.
And I'm sure you've probably learned from that experience.
Of
You know
course.
now what you need to do to
Yes.
get there. And
Yeah,
they see
yeah.
the drive and ambition in you as well, which is
Exactly.
really good.
Yeah.
I suppose, Anastasija, like if you think about leadership styles, do you think they evolve with age, or are they core traits that remain consistent?
Actually, I changed my mind, right? At first, I thought they develop with time. But I think now, definitely, they're core traits that you perfect with time only. But it very much depends on the person, right? So I was trying to think of styles available out there and what would be mine, really. And I've noticed, which was total shock for me as well, if to be honest, that I'm more of a coaching leadership style, because when I just think of all people that I worked with, right, a lot of them excelled into bigger positions, right? When you see a potential in a person, you try to push them harder. You try to teach them more. So yes, I think they are core traits, really. You're just doing them better with time.
And you learn from experience, don't you?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've obviously learned pretty quickly to get into a leadership role.
I think that is exactly how I got in that role, because I learned everything from the bottom, really. And as I grew with the company, I just kept learning and learning and learning. That brought me up to the moment where there was a position open, right? And based on all my experience and knowledge in MGS, luckily they did pick me for the job, right? They still went through all the interviews, because that's how we do things. You know, you're not just getting, you're getting a promotion today. No, we always go with very fair process. You go through all interviews. You know, it might be even a second go of the interviews, but definitely experience gives a lot. Yes.
And I think probably, you know, from listening to you, you understand so many different areas within the business. That's probably led you to lead all the different areas and give your knowledge. You have the empathy at every level in the business because you've worked in so many.
Yes, 100%. And I think it's a benefit as well of, let's say, we're expanding so quickly. You know, when we started, it was only one building. Now we have 3. So all this knowledge, I think, helps as well for building new processes, you know, because a lot of things we didn't have for like last 6 or 7 years, and we implemented them now. And this experience of all the steps in production definitely helps a lot to build all new things. So guys are actually looked after when they need to perform, because we know what it entails to make this happen, how long it takes, what is expected of them.
When you think about engineering graduates and, you know, 75% versus 25% male versus female, what do you think we could do within industries or schools or home to attract more females into STEM roles?
I think things like this, like podcasting, you know, women that are actually doing it at the moment might encourage all the younger ladies that are still on a cross line thinking of, oh, well, what should I do? There is no obstacles for women and girls anymore. Anything that you feel you'd like to do, I'd very much encourage all women to do. Maybe possibly with time it's not going to, they feel that's not for them, which is totally fine, because with age we try to find something new. But for the girls who are now on a crossroads and think, oh, I really want to be an engineer, you know, but there's only men in that job. That's not true.
No.
That's not true.
So exposure.
Yeah.
Definitely exposure, yes.
And probably more awareness and in the diversity of engineering, because as you said, like engineering, most girls or women might say that's a builder on a building site, but there's so many different areas. Like there's quality engineering, mechanical engineering, technology engineering. I'm sure there's so many different fields you can go into, and I think the awareness into even any of the STEM subjects should be explored early on, maybe in a child or a young adult education, and that's whether it's from a teacher, any sort of educator, even parents, you know, that way. I was thinking about this last night, like role models in the industry. So like I know when I was doing my course, a lot of the scientists we spoke with were male, you know, but then we have other scientists like Marie Curie, that's a female. I do think most of the role models, let's call, for different subjects are mainly male.
And I think that's changing. As you said, like podcasts, like schools, like parents, everything is on the table. You can be anything you want to be, not gender-based at all. And vice versa. I think there's some areas within businesses that are very female predominated that we need to get more males into to give that diversity of thought and that gender balance across the businesses. I think we're going in the right direction, but there's definitely a little way to go.
I'd say across the likes of quality and operations at the moment, we probably have the most diversity in male and female. There's both. But then when you look at tooling, engineering, they are male predominant roles are advertised for those different departments. Trying to encourage also
Equal opportunities.
Encouraging women to apply for those roles.
I was reading about engineering, secondary school students and that, and they were saying in Ireland, 20% of STEM professionals come from non-traditional backgrounds. So from that, I mean like apprenticeships, reskilled programs, career changes. So it's not just at school level. You can pivot at any stage and just using the skills that you develop through any kind of education or learning or industry. And you can pivot into different STEM areas.
Like Anna is a prime example for that.
Yes.
Because like you didn't have an academic background in what we do, but you worked your way up. And I think hands-on experience within a role or within an industry is more valuable than the academic side of things, if that makes sense.
Talk about certain skills and mindsets. Do they matter more than academic performance, than maths and science? Is it the person as much as the academic and the mindset?
I think you're right. Yes, it's all there together. Definitely. Before I moved to Ireland, right, I worked in sales actually, and I enjoyed that job. And I thought, well, probably this is where I'm going to stay. But life, of course, had their own ways, and it's definitely piece of personality and piece of STEM subjects, because we do them core subjects in school, so that's STEM as well, so you can't skip those. Probably if I could, I'd skip maths, but it's not an option, you know. And based at home, we can't really choose any subjects. We learn all subjects. So you're not given a choice. You just go through everything throughout the school. Personality aspect definitely plays a very big role in it, because I know all women are very, very strong. We're mothers. Like we can be anyhow different. But in STEM jobs, you need to be all of it. You know, you need to be all of it. You need to be critical minded. You need to be a mother, because your colleagues, they're like family. You need to look after each other. It's not like you can do only your job and it's not going to impact anyhow some other person sitting just beside in a chair. It's not working that way. And of course, yes, if you've unfortunately failed maths in school, it's not a big issue too. No, because you can start over, you know. As I mentioned, life has its own ways, and
mindset and determination and that desire to.
That's what I had a lot of. It's definitely that was a driver for sure for me, 100%.
Yeah, and like even going back to like the hands-on experience, like my own experience, like as I said, I did pharma. But when I started working in my previous place, I actually did a part-time course in quality management. And to be honest, after I did the quality management course, I was doing everything. So like FMEAs or non-conforming reports while I was working. But when I was learning about it, it made me so much more confused, because every company has their own unique way of doing things. So it's great, learning the basics of a process. But 9 times out of 10, when you actually go into a job, they have their own unique way of doing it, and that's the only way you're going to learn.
That hands-on learning, there's nothing like it.
I always say, like, from my degree, that was probably the best part, was having the internship, because I know people that, my brother, for example, has a double major in biology and chemistry, and he found it so hard to get a job after college because he didn't have hands-on experience throughout his 4 years.
Whereas you went into the company that you did your experience with, you've already built relationships. Looking back, if you could send one message to your younger self or to your children now, what would that be?
If you have an interest in something, just do it. Like, and I wouldn't care basically what anyone says or thinks about what you're doing. If you like something, do it, and if you enjoy it, even better, you know? I swear by, like, if you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life. You know that way? Like, I know we all have days where we're like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. But we get in. We do our job to the best of our
ability. Not every day.
No, it's not every day, but we all have bad days. But definitely, like, if you have an interest in something, just do it and don't worry about what others think.
Yeah, it'll work itself out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Anna, if you could retire now and live your dream life, would you?
Yes and no at the same time. Again, I debated on this, right? I do have a dream to retire earlier if I can. And again, coming back to, you know, what would I do if I do? Definitely would be something like making candles, you know, or making a beautiful, nice smelling soap and all that, you know, and live somewhere where there's a little bit more sunshine. I love Ireland to bits, but that's a piece that I miss.
A little bit more sunshine, yeah.
Yes. But then from the other side, I think I'm so on to this, you know, crazy, everyday, busy lifestyle that even on the weekends, I feel myself bored, definitely bored. So Yes and no. I think I haven't decided here for...
Not yet.
Not yet, yes. I definitely know that this moment now, I just can't stop. I haven't reached, the stop yet. I need
There's
to be
more,
going.
Anna.
Oh, yes. I hope so anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you?
No, I wouldn't retire anytime soon. No, similar to what Anna says, I'm not one for staying at home. I like to be busy, so work definitely keeps me busy. And then obviously after work, when I come home to my son, he also keeps me busy. And I enjoy work.
That balance is nice.
I love getting out. Yeah, I'm a real people person, so it gets me out of the house, gets me interacting with others, and just keeping me busy. And that's what I like. I think if I retired, and fair enough, moving away to the sun would be fab, but I think after a while I would get sick of it.
You'd miss the day job.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Look, I absolutely loved speaking with you both. Thanks a million for coming today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on High Flyers in STEM Greatness Has No Gender with Anna and Michelle from MGS Manufacturing. Our final episode of the season is one you won't want to miss. Catherine Cleary and Anne Grealish from Medtronic will share how they're driving life-changing innovation while paving the way for future leaders. If you've loved today's conversation, please like, subscribe and share. It's through these stories that we inspire the next generation of women in STEM. Until next time, keep raising the bar. Your voice matters.